Welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo Sam Monson. We are live-ish on Thursday on YouTube here and wherever you listen to your podcast. Appreciate everybody being here. A little pre-record here today, Sam, because we're on the road the next couple days. We're going to Colts practice, Colts Packers, and then Bears Bills today and tomorrow.
Be a fun little mini training camp tour. 2 training camp spots. It's pretty mini, but still.
It is mini.
It's a tour.
We would go to a third, but the Bengals have denied us once again entry into their practice.
The Bengals' long-standing denial of the Cincinnati Bugler duo continues. It's a standoff.
We should. The only way for that to be overturned would be snail mail.
Yeah.
So if you guys could mail the Bengals and say free check the mic, let them into practice. That would be the best way to probably move the needle there.
You know that thing that Ross Tucker advertises, like the fake newspaper thing? We should create an actual fake Cincinnati Bugler newspaper and be like, here, look, here's our column, our dispatches on the weekly.
Let's get Ross on here so that Ross will love that, right? He gets to promote his stuff. Yeah. And then we create a fake Bugler article of us talking about a Bengals AFC championship win or something like that, right?
Yeah.
From 2021. Look, we are legacy media. Let us into practice.
Look, here's our paper.
So most teams let us into practice. The hometown Bengals do not. But we'll be going to Packers, Colts, and Bears, Bills. So, yeah, if you're around, say hello, and we'll try to have some insight coming out of the joint practices.
You'll be able to spot Steve. He'll be the 7-foot-tall, curly-haired guy.
That would be me.
Yeah.
I'll be there. So that's what we have going down. And today is a big one because we had taken a break from Shouty Shows for the summer. So we have a summer's worth of Shouty Shows.
Yeah.
To unveil once again and hit on some of the big news, some best players available. There's still some veterans who have the training camp-itis, right? They just don't want to do training camp. And they're a little bit older. Some of them might actually not get signed, but there are still some talented players out there. We'll break those down along with some team needs.
Yeah, I suspect some teams don't necessarily want them in the building yet either.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
you got to see what you have.
I mean, it used to be like, the Brett Favre thing of like, I just don't want to do training camp every year. Now I think it's kind of a mutual, like, neither one of us wants you in the building. We'll
call you when we need you.
We'll reconvene.
But there are a few players who may be needed. We'll start though with the most recent news here. James Cook of the Buffalo Bills signing a 4-year, $48 million extension on top of his rookie contract. So Bills running back James Cook, he had been having a hold-in at training camp, and he's back and signed. Really culminating in a big offseason of re-signings for the Buffalo Bills. Teams talk about draft and develop quite often. Well, the Bills are doing it, re-signing many of their own players this offseason.
Yeah, they were dabbling in free agency. They brought in some players, half of which immediately got suspended once they did. But
for only 6 games.
It wasn't spectacular in terms of an offseason spending spree in terms of additions. But you're right, the big work that Buffalo did this offseason was just re-signing their own for the long term. And while some of that was, Josh Allen, obviously one of the biggest quarterback contracts in the NFL, a lot of it was like new money given to exactly what you're talking about, drafting low rounds, drafting well, and then needing to pay those guys in a few years' time. So the Christian Benfords of the world and locking those guys up long term. So from a roster health point of view, Buffalo, they don't have much cap space to spend. However, like almost the entirety of that roster is kind of locked up for the medium term now.
Yeah, when you look at the 2 deep, or at least the starters, there's only a handful of starters who have expiring contracts heading into this year now. James Cook would have been one of them.
Yeah.
But the players that they've re-signed this offseason, Josh Allen, who you mentioned, Greg Rousseau, Christian Benford, the cornerback, linebacker Terrell Bernard, Khalil Shakir, wide receiver. So plenty of, hey, we're going to make sure that this nucleus remains intact. And by the way, a couple years ago, that was the plan, right? There was a bit of a reset for the Bills where they let many veterans walk out the door. One of them's come back in, by the way, Tre'Davious White. But they let many veterans walk out the door, guys that had been part of their nucleus for the last 4 or 5 years. They did go younger. Last year was supposed to be the slight step back so that they could move forward. It really wasn't. They were just as good, if not better.
Yeah.
And as in other years, inches away from, maybe making it to the Super Bowl. And now heading into next year, only 3-4 starters remain unsigned. So I think this is really good for the long-term health of the Buffalo Bills and their nucleus. And their offseason can be, all right, every year going forward here, let's add a little bit more through the draft. Let's continue to draft the best players and future-proof this roster, and then sprinkle in free agents as needed, like they did this last year, where they said, "Hey, we're going to be load up on this defensive line to make sure that we have incredible depth." So, from that perspective, for the Bills, I really like this. From the James Cook perspective, you mentioned to me off air, just another $12 million a year running back, which has been pretty standard if you're above a certain level at the running back position in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, it's effectively the same contract that Aaron Jones signed for the Packers years ago, and then his contract was replaced by Josh Jacobs, who also signed 4 years and $48 million, and then that's become James Cook's contract, which is, it's just kind of interesting that three guys have signed effectively the same headline contract in the last, half dozen years. And that, normally these contracts with the cap going up and up and up, they only go upwards. Adjusted for inflation, this is the same deal. But these are all literally the same headline figure deal. It's interesting for Buffalo because, look, James Cook has been a really good draft pick for them. A second rounder, come in. It was remarkable to me how much he was like Dalvin Cook, his older brother. But it felt like, as a prospect, he was like 80% of Dalvin Cook. Very similar stylistically, looked the same, ran the same, carried the ball the same, but everything felt like it was sort of 80% of Dalvin Cook's peak. But since then, he's gotten better and better each year. And within this Buffalo offense, certainly last year, he was a spectacular part of it. And last year saw not just his workload increase, but like a explosion in production from a touchdown point of view, which always, grabs the eye. But he's been amazing for them. You just run into this classic dilemma of, well, how much is that worth in this landscape of, the current day NFL, where, we know how dependent running backs are on other things. However, countering that, you also have last year's evidence of Philadelphia, Baltimore, where it's like also in a great situation. Clearly running backs can, add a huge amount of value on top of that. So where are Buffalo in that world, and where is James Cook in that world in terms of, each helping the other?
Especially explosive running backs, just like Saquon, just like a Jahmyr Gibbs. James Cook does bring a level of explosiveness to this offense with their varied group of playmakers, with Josh Allen, who, of course, is very difficult to defend. Adding the speed back to that mix has made this offense that much better. By the way, I always think about the plays that get lost in NFL history because the team lost. The James Cook 4th-and-1 touchdown in the AFC Championship against the Kansas City Chiefs, where it was incredible, high effort, reaches the ball over the goal line. That would have been one of the most legendary plays in Bills history, but also in NFL history, had they just pulled it off, right? It's going to end up getting lost.
It's the Julio Jones catch.
It's like the Julio Jones catch. Cook almost had one of the greatest moments. It's still a great moment, but of course they lost, so you're going to, many people forget it. Last thing, pretty versatile running back room as well. Remember, Ty Johnson's there. They used him a lot on wheel routes and using him down the field as a pass catcher. And then Ray Davis, kicker extraordinaire / running back, who's just tough to tackle in his second year. So they have a versatile group of running backs. They will rotate those guys in and out. And again, I think offensive football is all about creating mismatches, showing different looks, showing different skill sets to the defense. And James Cook, of course, adds that with the other varied skill sets in their running back room and just overall with their wide receivers and tight ends.
The deal that this really might be adjusted for inflation is the deal that Austin Eckler signed a bunch of years ago with the Chargers. And for a while, it was like, that's as high as I would want to go.
That was like $6 million at the time, right?
Yeah, but that's kind of where we are now. You know what I mean? Like, that's where we are adjusted for inflation, not necessarily the Aaron Jones contract or the Josh Jacobs deal. Like, given the years that have passed and the amount the cap has gone up, I would say those are probably closer together than the actual dollar for dollar figure of comparing it to those other contracts. But that was, at the time, it's like, okay, that's a relatively modest contract relative to the salary cap, and that's kind of as far as I would want to go for a veteran running back. This feels in a similar area where it's like, it's a decent chunk of change. It's also probably the high level of where I would want to go before I'm looking for, could I get 80% of his production for a fraction of the cost?
It's tied for 6th in APY or average per year with Josh Jacobs at $12 million. Alvin Kamara is right above that at 12.25. But even that's a stretch below Saquon, who just got over 20, and Christian McCaffrey, who just got over 19, or just got to 19 over the last couple of years. And Saquon and McCaffrey were interesting because they had signed previous deals, and then both teams just kind of tacked on some more money to both of those guys, and they're still well above everyone else, including Derrick Henry, who's third at $15 million per year. So $12 million for James Cook and his production, just still finishing up his first contract here with one more year. Seems like a reasonable deal here for both sides.
Yeah, it's still
Bills are very well set up for this year and beyond as far as the roster goes.
Yeah, and from Buffalo's point of view, in terms of value, or do we commit this money to a running back? The question that is there, I think for Buffalo's point of view, it's a little bit like Philadelphia's last year, where it's like if you can make it happen financially, like if you can fit it under the cap, you might as well. Like we just talked about almost the entirety of that roster is signed long-term or ready to go, and they don't have any massive glaring needs. So if they can find a way of making this money work within the cap and allocate it to James Cook, you're better off having James Cook, given what you've seen from him in the last couple of years, than not having him, saving the money, not really having anywhere to spend the money, and needing to find somebody that can give you a good analog of what James Cook was bringing to the table.
All right, James Cook back with the Buffalo Bills. The hold-in is over. All right, man. We've had all summer. The producers have had all summer to get the Shouty Shows ready.
Yeah.
We have a whole new intro. For those of you who are new, the Shouty Shows. Give a little explanation of what the Shouty Shows are. What we do here with the Shouty Shows.
Well, the archetypal Shouty show would be the Skip Bayless versus Stephen A. Smith. What was that crap called when it was on?
Was that First Take? I
can't remember. Whatever it was.
All I know is it
those two, right?
Replaced cold pizza. Rest in peace.
Those two, the bloviating, shouty, worthless information world of sports entertainment television, the embrace debate world, right? Where you just, sporting thing happens. In order to react to it, you basically just think, well, what is the most ridiculous, over-the-top, shouty argument I can create on this, and then me and somebody else will fight about it on the TV. That's what the Shouty Shows are. And we generally don't like that because it's not genuine.
You should fix your IFB.
I'm like tapped out in terms of...
You can't look any more professional?
No. I'm tapped out in terms of cable length here, so it's really no...
It's not professional of me to call you out on it, but I figured...
That's where we are.
Scratching the surface here.
Yeah.
So that's what we do with the Shouty Shows. We like to listen to the Shouty Show takes.
Yeah.
We have not heard these before, but we react in real time to the Shouty Shows. We have a whole new intro. Let's go to the intro. Shouty Show time. Let's do it.
I've thought about it very deeply.
I liked how he started it with, I've thought about this long and hard.
I trust the backup quarterback more than I do Dak.
This is why Skip Bayless is the master of the Shouty Show segment.
I can't do it anymore. It is year 6.
It's just a never-ending arms race of idiocy between loud, obnoxious people. We are the antidote to that.
All right.
I thought about wearing that T-shirt today, the No Shouty Shows one.
The No Shouty Shows?
But I thought it would be mixed messaging, Like, we're anti-Shouty Show. Having said that, we're listening to the...
We're pro-Shouty Show segments.
Exactly. I thought that would be confusing.
All right. We got a bunch today. It's been all summer. So let's start with a reaction to Shedeur Sanders' debut.
Tonight, Shedeur Sanders made the entire National Football League look like a whole bunch of petty fools. In some cases, racist fools. In many cases, Dion despising fools. Tonight at Carolina, Shedeur Sanders made all those teams that had 143 chances to draft him before he went 144th. He shamed all of them, including the Cleveland Browns, who finally took him in the 5th round. I said before last college season started that Shedeur Sanders should go number 1 overall. It was either he or Travis, 1, 2, 2, 1, and I would go every time with the quarterback because he is the quarterback. He is him.
Welcome back, Skip.
The the decline of Skip Bayless in the last couple of years has been steep, precipitous.
I think he's taking a little bit of what Mel did with the draft. Is like the extra passion. Like he's like almost near tears.
No, but it reminds me of like the late era Bob Dylan. You know, if you ever see Bob Dylan in the latter years on stage, he's just this sort of immobile husk who can barely make noise and just sort of, it sounds like an old man, right? Like it sounds like a guy who's done with life effectively and is just clinging on and yet still on the touring circuit. That's kind of what Skip Bayless sounds. Where's the passion? Where's the, the emotive, argumentative Skip that used to be, that created this whole world? Now he's just going through the motions. He's mailing it in.
I just think he's sad and insulted like Mel was.
That's what he's done.
That he went five, like in round 5.
No, because we had...
Shame on all the other teams, including his own team.
We had clips of Skip before the summer, and this is what he sounds like now. He's just like drained.
You think he's completely...
Skip has lost the motivation for Shouty.
Content-wise, it's still there. Content? I mean, he's taken preseason week 1 and declaring victory.
Yes,
that's good. That's well done.
That's
good show. That's
standard
Shouty.
Yeah. Standard Shouty show business. Having said that,
I saw one game in the preseason, and that confirmed all my priors.
Having said that, okay, absolutely, that's a standard Shouty show MO. But even in the world of Shouty Shows and Shedeur Sanders, this is the second spiciest take I've seen in the last day or two. Because I saw Michael Irvin out there demanding written apologies for Shedeur Sanders based off that one preseason game.
As I've reminded people, there were apologies actually written or said from Dan Orlovsky to Daniel Jones.
Yes.
I don't know if it was after his first preseason game, but definitely by the end of the preseason. For those who have a short memory, that was 2019. I know, 6 years ago. Daniel Jones went 29 of 34 with 3 or 4 touchdowns in the preseason. So if you were a Daniel Jones doubter, and we were like, hey, man.
And there were plenty of them.
I would not take Daniel Jones at 6 overall.
Right.
I mean, we were getting attacked left and right, but we stood strong. We're like, it's preseason, And Dan O, I think, actually gave an apology. Michael Irvin, I believe he also had the Quinn Ewers equals Tom Brady take. I think he had that one before.
That one didn't age well this week.
And so, as neutral observers here, we're not going to victory lap that because Quinn Ewers didn't look good after one, just like we're not going to declare Shedeur Sanders the number 1 overall pick. Should have been, You regret that, Titans? You see what Shedeur did? Not ready to do that. But content-wise, so I hear what you're saying. Passion-wise, maybe not there with Skip. I think content-wise, though, he's close. Still close.
I mean, sure. I think it's middling content, and I think it's poor delivery.
All right, next one. We're going to go a little Jalen Hurts takes here. Some Jalen Hurts.
So some quarterbacks in this league are Taylor Swift. They're leading the entire tour. Most quarterbacks in this league are the Spice Girls. They're part of an ensemble. Jalen is part of an ensemble. Of the 50 voters, 50 in the Mike Sando survey, of the 50,
not me.
3 had Jalen Hurts as a tier 1 quarterback. Okay, it'd be different if it was 23, and then we could argue. But he was much closer to 7th-rounder Brock Purdy than Mahomes, Burrow, and Josh Allen or Lamar. And that's exactly right.
Not controversial.
No.
I love a good Spice Girls reference.
Already you could hear the increased passion, the motivation in his delivery. Like he feels like, Colin Cowherd is a man that's built an empire on this, and he's still motivated to go to work every day. Skip's not.
Does Colin has a good structure, right? It's like I could see him writing these down, right, and being like analogy.
That is a wild analogy to bring out.
Analogy, data to back it up, and then wrap it with what it all means.
Like just deciding to compare quarterbacks to Taylor Swift and the Spice Girls is pretty out there.
There's 4 Taylor Swifts in the NFL at any given time, and Jalen Hurts isn't one of them.
Right.
It's just a Spice Girl.
It's just a Spice Girl.
Didn't they all try to break out on their own? Didn't work that well.
Certainly 1 or 2 of them did.
What was their heyday? I keep thinking it was 95. I think it was closer to 98.
Late 90s.
97,
right.
98.
I don't know. Sure.
Love a good Spice Girls reference.
I mean, he's right.
This isn't controversial, right? Now, there was the one, what did
Well, the only controversy is...
what did Dan O say?
The only thing about Jalen Hurts is he's the one guy where if you want to hyper-focus on QB wins, that he jumps that into a different category because he's just annihilated Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It's his second Super Bowl where he's played spectacular football, albeit minus one play, which probably cost him the first one. And, the Eagles won a ton of games. So if all you want to do is focus on the stuff that we know is massively influenced by a million other outside factors, you can say Jalen Hurts is elite. And, Nick Wright, a Shouty Show exponent and student of the craft.
Oh,
he said on his own show, this is a take that is out there, right? If you want this take, you can build the argument that Jalen Hurts is the elite quarterback right now or the best quarterback in the NFL. Now, I don't believe it, but if somebody wants to make that take, it's there to be had for a Shouty Show segment. Cowherd is simply pushing back against that and being like, nope, not on my watch.
Yeah, I think most people agree, including 3 out of 50. Now, you thought the 50 voters, you thought he was
talking about the AP voters.
You thought he was going to say no AP voter gave him an MVP vote.
Yeah.
Right? Which I don't remember where he ended up, but I don't think he had any first, second, or thirds. I'm a lot closer to QB wins than maybe I used to be because I do think over time that does get you in the ballpark, which will be interesting with Hurts because it's not revisionist history to say that the Eagles have had one of the best rosters in the NFL during his entire time there.
Right.
That's not revisionist history. That's every year we go in and we're like, man, these guys are loaded. All hail Howie as the best GM in the NFL because of how they build through the draft, how they manage free agency, how they manage contracts, how do they have so many good players on the team at a given time. So, it's not a wild take on Jalen Hurts, just a fun analogy. Taylor Swift and the Spice Girls. He's also cross-comparing eras.
It's true. He is.
Right? It'd be like...
You're not supposed to do that.
You're closer if you said Madonna and the Spice Girls. She's 80s, they're 90s, but we're in 2025 here.
And that still feels like it's cross-comparing eras.
A little bit.
I'm not sure who the soloist in the late 90s would be.
In the late 90s? I don't know. Music was all over the place.
Is it Celine? Is it Celine Dion?
Celine? No, don't pull out Celine again. In that year, you've got My Heart Will Go On.
That's what I'm saying.
It will. So
it might be Celine.
Josh Allen, Celine.
I never want to hear that song again, but it might be it.
Oh, man. All right. Let's go. We've got next one. We've got a prediction for the best QB in the NFC North. I know where this is going.
By the end of this season, Caleb Williams will be by many considered the best quarterback in his division. I think Jared Goff is going to suffer a bit from the lack of Ben Johnson. As much as you don't like Ben Johnson, the head coach, you loved Ben Johnson, the coordinator, and the early reports out of that training camp are that transition's been a little rocky. And I think we're going to see a fair amount of J-No to go along with J-Lo. And so not that he's going to have the best stats over the course, but because of how he finishes the season, because of how he looks over the final
like
6
Love
weeks.
did
Correct. Exactly right. Like how we felt Jordan Love after his first year as the starter. A lot of people were like, I think he's the best quarterback in that division right now.
Speaking of Nick Wright, I thought this was going somewhere else. I think it might be the next one, though.
So this is why he is currently the finest Shouty Show person out there.
Don't start.
Serious, because
you're just trying to get Nick back on the show.
You can see the science behind this. Not only is it, quite a spicy take that Caleb Williams will be the best quarterback or seen as the best quarterback in the NFL, in the division rather, by the end of the season. Number one, so it's spicy to begin with because you're taking that. It's a hot take. Good starting point. Number two, it's a prediction, always good because people can then throw that back at you that, I'm going to bookmark this, keep the receipts. That's good. Number three, you're buying low on it. So it's like the exact opposite of what everybody else is thinking right now, right? Cowherd's problem is most people weren't really thinking that with the Jalen Hurts thing. So half the reaction is, sure, I agree. Nobody's agreeing with this. A year ago, maybe, everyone's like, yeah, Caleb Williams is super talented, and they've helped him. Now, it's like after last season, you're like, well, he didn't do it last year. It was kind of disappointing. Maybe Caleb Williams isn't all that. And Nick Wright's actually like, nah, instead, I'm going to say he's going to come out of this year as the best quarterback in this division. And then lastly, you're even showing people, like, this is what happened with Jordan Love. Like, we already did this. Like, this is how it works. This is masterful craft.
You just want Nick. You're still afraid of him.
I'm not
drafted
afraid of him.
Patrick Mahomes a couple weeks ago over Josh Allen.
This
you're
is
just
why
worried that he's going to text you.
This is why he's on the ascent, right? He used to be just on like a Chiefs radio show. Right now he's FS1 star guy, and he's slugging away with Stephen A.
I agree with you. It is well crafted. The other part that I will say, I think referencing the Jordan Love season, the 2023 season where Jordan Love spent the first half of the year. And I kept saying, man, he's not on the same page as his receivers. The accuracy's all over the place. The footwork's a mess. And the switch flipped in the second half of that year, and he looked elite, right? Jordan Love was going toe-to-toe with the Chiefs and other top teams in the league and making big-time throws left and right. If that happens this year, I wouldn't be surprised. Caleb Williams, extremely talented. We've seen glimpses of the good play. If it does neatly fit into that narrative of it takes a half season, he's getting used to Ben Johnson, they're getting used to each other, it's a whole new system, whole new coaching style in Ben Johnson, and then all of a sudden by the end of the year we're like, man, Caleb Williams is balling.
Yeah.
The other part that makes it crafty, who's he competing with in the NFC North,
this
right?
Is the thing.
Because
this is why
Jared Goff is good.
This is why it's so good, because it's eminently plausible. Maybe it's not the most likely thing to happen, but it's entirely possible.
Jared Goff is good. But even in his best seasons, most of the time you're like, yeah, but Sean McVay, yeah, but Ben Johnson, and look at all these playmakers for the Lions. Even when Jared Goff puts up the best numbers, nobody's like, Jared Goff, he's the driver. He has a history of, being malleable to the situation, right? Jordan Love has been very inconsistent, and you have first-year starter J.J. McCarthy. So that's the other part, kudos to Nick, is choosing 1 out of 4. You got a 25% chance of being right from a starting point, and the competition isn't that steep.
Yeah, exactly. This is the thing. It's entirely possible that this could happen. J.J. McCarthy could be anything. Who knows? Jordan Love is already getting the is he overrated stuff based off, it was half a year of incredible play, and then last year he wasn't as good. And then Jared Goff is good, not great, and his coordinator just left. And a lot of people are putting a ton of stock into, how much of Goff's success was Ben Johnson as opposed to Jared Goff, Dan Campbell, the receivers, the environment around him. So it's entirely possible that actually ends up being the case. And then the other thing is, it was a disappointing year from Caleb Williams last year. He still threw for 3,500 yards, 20 incredible touchdown interception ratio, had a few games in there where you did get to see the glimpses. It is the right, I think, reaction to the current overall vibes on Caleb Williams is to say he's probably better than the negativity surrounding him at the moment. Plus, you're giving him Ben Johnson and an upgraded supporting cast and all those kinds of things. So, again, you say it's just me being sycophantic. I'm telling you, this guy is current. He's the Taylor Swift of the hot take genre right now.
We'll send that to Nick. You're Sam's hero. Hot take, Shouty Show hero.
Oh, I
Nick
mean,
Wright.
I hate it, but this is the
well
guy
done.
to recognize.
Changing the game. He's a game changer. You called him the Taylor Swift. I think he'd appreciate it if you called him the Patrick Mahomes.
I'm sure he would. Yeah.
Of his craft.
Uh-huh.
All right, now we have a prediction for MVP this year.
I love. Jordan Love will win the MVP. Look, you take away 3 or 4 throws from last year, he was right there. I love Matthew Golden. He was my favorite receiver in the draft last year. Great route runner, great hands. You put him around Dontavius Wicks, Jay Reed, everybody else. This team will score and score often. Little concerned about the secondary, but they should be explosive on offense. This is Jordan Love's year.
That's our boss,
Mike T.
Tannenbaum. Mike T, bringing it. I saw this a few weeks ago. This is why I thought that the last one was this, but related, right? So clearly he disagrees with Nick Wright. He thinks the best quarterback in the NFC North will be Jordan Love.
Well, not just that, but he's pushing it a step further and going MVP, up in the ante, up in the stakes.
Mike's got some bold takes out there.
He does.
All the time. This one's fun. I mean, look, we've said before, the ceiling of Jordan Love is extremely high.
Yeah.
Ceiling meaning
the ceiling is certainly MVP.
His best levels of play.
Right. I mean, if you put together a full season of the second half of 2023, I think that is an MVP caliber season.
Yeah. So this isn't. I mean, on the surface, it's kind of wild because most people, if they're making their MVP takes, they're going to start with the top 4 consensus quarterbacks, of which Jordan Love is not one. The consensus being Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, and Joe Burrow. So the 4 of those guys. There's always a fun debate for who QB5 is. The Sando list had Matthew Stafford, by the way, which I think
which is a consistent theme amongst NFL people, that Matthew Stafford is always rated higher than everyone thinks he should be.
Yeah, that also feels a year outdated, but that is true. Jaden Daniels could be in that mix. Jordan Love could be in that mix. C.J. Stroud could be in that mix. Justin Herbert, right? There are several different ways you could go for QB5. And Mike's essentially saying, yeah, we're gonna get back to peak Jordan Love.
Yeah.
And he loves Matthew Golden as well. He loves that addition, where I think you and I, we're fine. Like, we're 2 straight years of being a little bit lower on a pretty good first-round wide receiver. I think we were a little bit lower on Golden. But if he, I'm not saying he's Brian Thomas Jr., but if he is as good as a lot of people think Matthew Golden is, then he does become wide receiver 1 for the Packers and a key weapon for Jordan Love.
I'll also say that for MVP, I think now this might change now that it's sort of a ranked system in the voting. You know, it used to be just you give your MVP vote to somebody. Now it's like you rank your order of top 5 guys, so that and points are awarded accordingly. So it might change there, but there is a tendency for like incredible season, unexpected season, career year for a random quarterback. It like propels them to being MVP. So like Matt Ryan's 2016, Cam Newton's 2015, Lamar Jackson's first MVP season, like the first spectacular year you get from a guy.
There's some narrative to it. There's some story to it.
Yeah, the first sort of spectacular season you get from a given quarterback can easily propel them into being MVP.
Now, the last thing I'll say, and whatever, Mike, it's a bold take for TV. For this to happen, Jordan Love and the Packers need to beat the good teams this year. Last year, they lost to all the teams that were better than them record-wise, the Eagles, the Lions, and the Vikings. Going to have to beat the good teams this year. And if they do, then you're in the mix.
Yeah. They just yes, they need to be one of the better teams in the NFL to have a shot at that.
Didn't even realize we had something on Matthew Stafford in the QB tiers, but let's do it.
Look, Matthew Stafford is a very good quarterback. He should not be tier 1. This is the first time in his career he's been tier 1. Yeah. At 37 years old with a bad back?
He's in the immortal chamber.
If you wanted to put him tier 1 a couple years ago, coming off the Super Bowl, I would have liked it more than now. At 37, Nick, you said QB wins. Last 3 years, he's 22-18.
No, I said I'm not a QB
with a
wins
talented
guy.
team.
I am a playoff wins guy.
Here's his ranks, Coach. The last 3 years.
See, here we go.
Or last year.
I told you.
This is where he ranked. That's not nonsense. That's all of last season. How in the world does that equate to tier 1? Because he played well in the playoffs?
Yes.
I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think Stafford should be tier 1 at all. This feels a little dated. Last 2 years for Stafford have been really interesting. I thought he was underrated in 2023 when they had all the kids. Puka's rookie season, Kobe Turner's rookie season. They were super young, remember? And they made a little playoff push. They were supposed to be rebuilding. I thought he was very underrated that year. And then last year, Stafford kind of fell apart down the stretch. Hung tough in the playoff game against the Eagles in the snow, but he did not play well down the stretch outside of the Buffalo game when they had that shootout. Didn't play well down the stretch, and the defense kept keeping teams under 14 points or whatever that cutoff was. So it just feels like a year late to put Stafford that high. So I don't think that's a wild take.
I think like the first 2 years of his time with the Rams are maybe the only point in his career where you would rank him as a tier 1 quarterback.
Yeah, and the first year with the Rams was the Super Bowl,
right?
And you could make that argument, right? He had his best statistical season, or one of them. Ton of fourth quarter comebacks, clutch plays, and they won the Super Bowl.
Right.
In 22, he got hurt and they fell apart. So there was probably like a 1 year stretch where you could make that argument. And the NFL was transitioning out of what was tough about tier 1 at that point was you had Mahomes, Burrow had just broken out, Lamar had already had an MVP, Josh Allen was just breaking out, and Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers were still playing at an elite level. So it was harder to kind of like crack the group. By the way, my overall take on QBs around the NFL, I say this a lot maybe on social media, but the last era of quarterbacks I think was stronger at the top, and I think this era is stronger depth-wise. the top 4 right now are pretty clear, and maybe they all end up being Hall of Famers. But last era's top 4 of Brady, Manning, Breeze, and Rodgers, it's like, all right, no doubt first ballot Hall of Famers. And then the next tier also has Hall of Famers and fringe Hall of Famers. And Stafford was in that era, and I don't think he was a top 10 quarterback in that era. And now he's, creeping into the top 5, top 8 for most. So I think the last era was stronger at the top, but right now, QB 25 could easily be QB 12, depending on what your criteria is.
The thing that I found interesting about this Mike Sando quarterback tiers article was, generally speaking, I think pretty much everybody sees this as a clear top 4, right, of quarterbacks in the NFL right now. It's Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow in some order. And even if you want to, tier them a little bit within that tier, it's a pretty clear top 4. And then I think there's a reasonable and fair debate about who is QB 5 in today's NFL. And then I think you would get a lot of different answers. They had a graphic in this article. It's The Athletic, right? Yeah. They had a graphic on this article that sort of charts based off the average responses of these 50 NFL executives, like where are these people? And there is the clear top 4. And then Stafford is 5. And what was interesting is, number 1, that he became QB 5, and number 2, that they sort of pushed him closer to the top tier than the next group of people.
That's crazy to me.
Can't
that
really
is crazy
see that. I don't understand that much at all. Number 1, I don't think I would rank him QB 5, and number 2, I certainly don't think whoever QB 5 is closer to that top tier of guys than the next tier down.
I could see Jaden Daniels absolutely being that guy.
Yeah, I mean, you could make an easy argument about like another group of quarterbacks. Like Jaden Daniels could be that guy. C.J. Stroud might become that guy.
Group. Yeah.
Stafford, Justin Herbert might be in that. But all of them are kind of more like Jalen Hurts. But all of them feel much closer to a group by themselves than they are the clear top 4 quarterbacks.
Last thing, while we're soapboxing a little bit here, the arguments that I've said this on the show many times, but you're allowed to repeat yourself because some people don't listen to every second.
It's a new listenership every 15 minits. That's
every
what
15
they used
minutes
to say on radio.
On radio, right? So I apologize for repeating myself a lot on the show. I'm not going to do it anymore.
Okay,
just going to do it. You deal with it.
Nice.
You'll notice it if you notice it. When quarterbacks often get ranked by talent, right? Because if you said, well, this guy's the most talented quarterback or top 3 most talented quarterback, and remember how I used to describe Stafford? 3 games a year, the dude looks like a top 3 quarterback. Yeah. 3 games a year, the dude's out of his mind when he was with Detroit. But he didn't play like a top 3 quarterback for the entirety of the season. So please, and I think the NFL execs do this. Like, oh, Stafford's talented. He makes, he's off-balance throws and zip and arm talent, and he's most talented. But at some point, talent needs to be production and actual quarterback play. So why would we ever rank quarterbacks based off of perceived talent, which is just a vague concept anyway, rather than actual football playing?
Did you see?
It only matters, really quick, in prospect evaluation because you're trying to project them going forward.
Yeah.
Once they're in the NFL, you see them in the NFL. And Stafford he's not a tier 1 quarterback. He's played like a tier 1 quarterback maybe once in his entire career.
Yeah.
So who cares about perceived talent level?
Did you see? So Dano did quarterback rankings, and he did it sort of by trait aspects. So
I like that.
One was accuracy, ranked
like
top
that as
10
a
in
concept.
accuracy. One was arm strength. One was whatever. He had 10 different categories, and he ranked all the quarterbacks 1 to 10. We haven't had him come up on the Shouty Shows segment yet, and look, I'm going to admit now, I did not click into this video and subject myself to what it actually was. I'm only going by the caption and the smug little thumbnail for it. Stephen A. Smith.
Stop the caption analysis.
Stephen A. Smith was reacting to Dano's rankings, specifically the ones that were ranking quarterbacks by mechanics, right? Now, I know you hate ranking by mechanics anyway.
I have to go rant on this one now.
Independent of that, right, you have Dano, a former NFL quarterback who presumably understands throwing mechanics. And on the other side, you have Stephen A. Smith, who has no earthly idea what he's talking about most football subjects, certainly has no idea whatsoever about quarterback mechanics. And it's like Stephen A. is ripping into Dano's mechanics rankings because Mahomes wasn't on there. And you're gold. What are we doing? This is pure, unadulterated gobshitery of the highest level.
I like that. That's great. By the way, let me do it.
Your mechanics rankings.
You should not be ranking on mechanics.
Well, you can rank them. It just doesn't necessarily mean anything.
It's stupid. Mechanics, all you're doing with mechanics, all you're doing is trying to organize your body to throw the ball accurately and with the desired velocity. That's the goal. That's what mechanics are. They're not supposed to be aesthetically pleasing. And so we ran into this historically. Remember our good friend, we haven't mentioned him in a couple months now. He's back. Christian Hackenberg. People would say...
Back. Where's he back?
He's on our show. I
He's
just
on the
mentioned
show.
him. We should get him as a guest sometime. Hackenberg was said to have great mechanics.
Yeah.
But he never actually had good velocity. That was all fake. And he never actually threw the ball accurately. So how could you have good mechanics? The whole point of having footwork and an arm action is to throw the ball accurately, and if you want to put zip on it, with the desired zip. If you want to throw a touch, with the desired touch. That's what mechanics are. And everybody thinks because when it looks aesthetically pleasing, that must be good mechanics.
Yeah.
That's my oft-used rant on mechanics. Same thing as pitching. They said for you, this guy's got great mechanics. Like,
Okay,
doesn't
wait.
matter.
I'm going to entertain this again. But okay, what if a mechanical flaw in your throwing motion is leaving stuff on the table? Like, what if you're getting the ball accurately where it needs to go, but what if you're like losing 5 miles an hour? There's throws you can't make anymore because your mechanics are lousy.
That's a thing. That is absolutely a thing. So you could say this guy has...
So that's a reason to value mechanics.
Yes, but people don't rank it like that, right? So Dan or anyone else, no one's going like that. This is why there's the drive line for baseball. This is why there are throwing gurus and everything. Yes, there are people like I gained 5 miles an hour as a professional because I made my mechanics better. But Dan's not being like, Mahomes has bad mechanics. He's got more velocity and accuracy in him. He's saying he doesn't set his feet enough or whatever, which doesn't actually affect the desired result. If you could prove that you could do something, if nobody's saying like, man, Brock Purdy's hip-shoulder separation is awful. He's leaving 3 miles an hour of or tighter spiral on the table. Therefore, his mechanics aren't that good. That is actually how you would rank them. I'm not saying the mechanics can't ever be ranked. I'm saying that the way that they're ranked is basically, are they aesthetically pleasing? Yes or no? Do you set your feet? Yes or no? And that's good or bad. Anyway.
Okay. I'm done with that argument.
So I was a professional thrower of objects. I know what I'm doing here. As was Dan, but I'm arguing with him.
Yeah.
Can we get Dan on the show finally? We get stuff to talk about.
Seems unlikely.
All right, we got an unusual stat on Dak Prescott.
But I took the liberty, right, of doing some research, Dio and Shefty, because y'all will appreciate this. I wanted to look at this category: career earnings among active quarterbacks per playoff win.
Oh my!
Career earnings per playoff
like
win.
making the stats work for you, Stephen A.
Wow. You're something special, Stephen A.
I am. I truly am. The point is, when you look at Patrick Mahomes, right? You look at Patrick Mahomes, right? He's got 17 playoff wins. Do you know that his average is like at around $10.7 million per playoff win? $10.7 million.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott is number 3, probably all time. I mean, Kirk Cousins and Deshaun Watson are ahead of him, but Dak Prescott is 3rd. Averaging $124.3 million for 2 playoff wins. You know what I'm saying? This is what he is. So he makes sure he gets his money. He makes sure he gets the headlines. He makes sure he gets the publicity. He just makes sure to do everything but win the second it turns into the postseason. It's what he does. And yet here we are.
So number one, Stephen A. didn't do research. Somebody handed him research. Going back to that Taylor Swift versus the Spice Girls thing, you know what Stephen A. is? I'm trying to think who the right person is, but he's a performer, right? He's a lip syncer. He doesn't actually write the songs. He doesn't actually come up with but he's a performer. He just goes out there and his delivery is over the top and ridiculous. And, like Skip Bayless now just sounds like a drained human being where it's monotonous, monotone. There's nothing there. It's just like, this is just a man waiting for the end. Stephen A. still bringing, the voices all over the place, the inflection, the hype. He gets excited. Like he's just a pantomime performer of an analyst.
You're saying Hembo's over there. I don't know if he works on that show at all, but he's just throwing some numbers at him, and it's like, make music out of this.
Yeah. Somebody's like, here's a disingenuous stat about Dak Prescott, and Steve's like, say no more. Got it. Got you covered.
I know. It might actually be in the intro. My favorite part about this is when the Shouty Showers, they really tell you that they've done their research on this. It's like, most of the time, I'm just making stuff up. I'm just yelling into the ether. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But this time, I decided to put some numbers. I actually decided to do some research and construct a take around this made-up ridiculous stat, which is,
and the number is always like patently ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
like,
of course.
Even if you knew nothing about analytics or data, or which they don't, right?
This is Peyton-alytics right here.
But like even someone that knows nothing about the integrity of data would know that that's a ridiculous number to be pulling out and be like, I found the answer.
Now, so what I would do on a Shouty show, and the reason why I don't get invited to such things, is I would say, have you adjusted that for inflation? Like maybe Dan Fouts is the inflation adjusted.
More of a fraudulent
maybe Dan Marino actually was stealing the most money per playoff win.
Probably.
Maybe Peyton Manning was actually adjusted for inflation. The guy's got only 8 playoff wins or whatever it is, or 13, whatever the number. Yeah, it's not that bad. Maybe someone else is in there.
Kirk Cousins.
I think he said Dak was 3. I think Cousins got to be up there per playoff win.
Right.
That's a fun. You could divide anything. You just divide anything.
Divide anything by anything else.
It create another number.
Do your own research.
The Shouty Shows are gold when they bring the data to the table.
But this is this is peak Shouty Show because this is the difference, right? You've got two people at the top in very different ways of doing it. You've got Nick Wright, who is carefully crafting a take that actually will piss people off, right? Because that's what you're doing here. And then you've got Stephen A., who's not crafting a take, but is just performing like a pantomime take that already exists and has existed for years. And someone's like, what's another way we could do this for the 700th time on this show? And he's like, well, if you feed me a number, I could just go. That's it. So it's amazing. So you've got these two different archetypes of the craft right now. The guy that understands what he's doing and is actually, creating this thing from scratch, and then the guy who's just a performer.
Yeah, it's impressive that Stephen A. can perform.
It's like that.
It's
like actors, right? It's like the method actor versus the guy that just reads the script, right? You've got Daniel Day-Lewis over here, and then you've got whoever the finest proponent of the just give me the script and I'll go.
You're going to have to send Nick all of these clips.
To be clear, I still hate everything about the Shouty Shows. I hate both equally. I hate the people that come up with the take because it works, and then I hate the pantomime performer of the take.
There's a big shakeup in the Shouty Shows this summer. Just saying. We've had one season of Shouty Shows reactions, and there's a big shakeup in the Shouty Shows.
And several of the shows.
Completely unrelated. There's nothing off camera or anything that is the reason.
Several of the shows that we were drawing from no longer exist.
We're losing content left and right.
Yeah.
We're going to need new Shouty Shows.
You say that. I suspect they're going to backfill it pretty comfortably.
All right, we got one more. Famous actor talking Jerry Jones.
I've been a Cowboy fan since the 60s. He's making it hard for me. Not to be a fan, because I'm still a Cowboy fan. I'm still going to have the star on the side of the hat. But he ain't thinking about us. He's thinking about his pocket. There's box office and there's Oscars. Jerry, been a while, huh? You ain't been to the show, you wouldn't know.
Ooh.
Wouldn't been to the show, you wouldn't know.
Uh-oh.
Haven't been to the show, so you wouldn't know what it is to win.
Now, this is an underexplored area of the genre. What if we took an actual elite actor and just set him going with a take?
Yeah.
Like that's Denzel Washington for anyone unaware.
When you hear it back to back, can't you see Stephen A., some of the pacing.
Of course. That's
setup,
what I'm saying. He is an actor. He is a performer in the same way that people like Denzel Washington are performers.
Denzel's the best.
Right.
At this.
They're not actually, rogue cops gone like. But nobody's done this before.
But Steve, you could see the imitation there.
This is the
Stephen
first
A's
time.
Trying to
of course.
Pace it the same way.
This is the first time in a while somebody has broken new ground on a Shouty Show
That
segment.
is good.
What if we took an actual elite level performer and made him into a Shouty Show artist?
We should try that. Can we? Any actors we can bring on here?
Do we know any actors of a high caliber?
We get De Niro on here with like.
I don't have a direct line to Rob.
Can we get De Niro ranking quarterbacks? Can we get, who else could we get here?
Yeah.
Who else can we actually get?
I can't think of anybody useful. Maybe Chris must know some people. We get Chris to pull some strings for us. Can we still do that? We could text him. You can only ignore us.
Yeah, Chris, get us some actor friends.
Yeah.
Get some
what
of your
A-list
friends.
actors do you know in the Cincinnati area?
We're going to be we're ranking the best defenses in the league. We need an actor to talk us through it.
What would be the ideal take to just hand
It's got to be a GOAT
Pacino.
discussion. It's got to be like a weekly GOAT. You tell the actor, based off whatever Mahomes does every week and whatever Dak does every week, how is their legacy affected by the last thing that we saw?
Okay, so we get a good performance from, let's say, Mahomes. Like, okay, Pacino, I need you to go out here and argue that Mahomes is better than Tom Brady. Let's go.
Pacino, yes, and it's got to be like weekly. Like you give them the same subject weekly. Like whatever's the last thing you saw has to impact
MVP,
the totality,
the MVP
MVP.
race.
That's it. That's what it is. We need an actor to break down the MVP race on a weekly basis, and it's gonna be like, well, I just saw Tua go off on Sunday Night Football, so it's him.
Yeah,
and that's what we'll go with. It's all about Jerry though, not building a winning team for the Cowboys. That's what Denzel's miffed by.
Jerry Jones, yeah.
We've got a little bit more on Jerry and, what he believes in here.
I do believe if we're not being looked at, then I'll do my part to get us looked at. The Cowboys are a soap opera 365 days.
The stream will begin
when it gets
momentarily.
low, I'll stir it up.
Please take your seats.
And so it's wonderful to have the great athletes, have the great players. But there's something more there. There's sizzle, there's emotion. And if you will, there's controversy. That controversy is good stuff in terms of keeping and having people's attention.
Yeah, so we finally got some sort of, well, I say finally, this is something he said previously in the past, multiple times I think, but we got confirmation on video of Jerry basically saying all this stuff, the Micah Parsons contract, the Dak Prescott contract, it's all deliberate. I do it for the attention. I stir it up when there's no attention on the Dallas Cowboys. I create some because it's good for the bottom line. So somebody described it, I forget who tweeted this at us, as, a theory that I had. It wasn't really a theory. It was something that he's basically publicly said previously already. This may be the clearest version of it, but, this is how Jerry does it. He deliberately stokes controversy because he believes it's the best thing for the bottom line of the Dallas Cowboys. And it's hard to argue from that perspective. The Cowboys are the most valuable NFL franchise out there by like a couple of $1 billion. They make a ton of money, even though the team hasn't won the playoffs, on a run for a while. The only downside of that, there's two downsides. Number one, it clearly isn't the best thing for the salary cap of the Dallas Cowboys. And in addition to being the owner, Jerry is also the general manager. So it's good for the bottom line, but it's bad for his salary cap. Because every time he strings this out for a year, the number only goes up. And Dak Prescott ends up signing a monster contract instead of whatever you could have gotten to previously. The only other thing that interests me is, are there players in on this game as well, right? Like, is Micah Parsons aware that this is just a dance we do to get attention and, don't worry about it, sit tight, and in a year's time you'll be the richest defensive player in the NFL? Or is Micah Parsons genuinely pissed off now, right? Because eventually you're going to alienate one of these guys enough that you're goofing around for a year to get publicity is going to cause one of your star players to leave the building. And that would be very bad.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. You have other famous coaches and executives winning isn't everything, it's the only thing.
Right.
Attributed to Vince Lombardi, but it may have been someone else initially. Kicked that off. Just win, baby.
Yeah.
Al Davis, which they didn't do much of in his later years, but in the early years they did. And Jerry's essentially admitting it's not just about winning.
Sure.
And it is about the soap opera and everything, which ultimately makes you're in the news, and I guess you make more money, you have more
the classic,
fans, followers through the years.
All publicity is good publicity.
So he does believe
Jerry
that.
Jones subscribes to.
It's a great question if the players buy in, because I know coaches who have gone there, we'll say, and came from different places. And when they got there, there was this, I don't know if it was cultural straight from the top, or I don't know if it was just that particular coaching staff. There was elements of like, we're the Dallas Cowboys. When it's 3rd and 1, we run the ball and pick it up. Like there was this attitude of we're the Dallas Cowboys. And I do wonder how much, more so than like, we don't need to out scheme people. We don't, in certain situations, we're just the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to win the Dallas Cowboys way, whatever that is. And ironically, they're not a very good running team the last couple of years. Certainly not that physical. But I do wonder how much of that comes from the top. And if that is instilled culturally from Jerry Jones from the top, which is like, hey, we're going to, you're going to get paid. I mean, Micah can't be that upset. He's like, I just don't get hurt. Hold the line, and eventually I'm going to make $8 million more than I would have a year ago.
If he's looking at this rationally, but that's the thing, right? If he's in on the thing, it's fine. Well, it's not fine. You're still hurting the salary cap, and that's not good in any way, shape, or form. But in terms of like, what's the worst thing that could happen with this approach? The worst thing that could happen is he essentially, literally just for clicks, creates these controversies, pisses a player off to the point where that player's like, I'm out of here. And your best player and one of the best players in the entire NFL goes somewhere else because you screwed him around. So if Micah Parsons knows that this is just what Jerry does and all I have to do is sit tight and then I'll become the richest defensive player in the NFL, all is fine. Now, you're still, I don't know if players work on this level necessarily, but like Micah Parsons started off this process saying, I don't need to be the best paid defensive player in the league. I want to win things with the Dallas Cowboys. So it still works against that. But effectively, it's not the worst thing in the world. But if you're stoking the controversy is like effectively like he's painting Micah Parsons looks bad out of this whole situation because it's like, you had this conversation with Jerry Jones and then you thought that was a deal. And actually, Micah Parsons is like, okay, now go talk to my agent. Like Jerry's effectively arguing that Micah Parsons is in the wrong with this because he thought he had a handshake deal and blah, blah, blah. And okay, everyone is siding with Micah Parsons here. But if Micah's looking at this and being like, what is the old man doing? Like the old man's hanging me out to dry, telling me I'm the problem in this negotiation. Like if he genuinely thinks that like that's insulting, I'm offended by that. Like at some point, this whole screwing around process may offend one of these players enough that they're like, I'm done.
The two other points I just wanted to make is Jerry references the salary cap as kind of like an excuse. He's like, there's
which
a cap.
He's creating his own problems and then blaming them on the salary cap.
For those who are young, the cap started in like 94. It was like early 90s, early to mid 90s. Around 01, 02, 03, there were teams that had serious salary cap issues. Like they would have legitimate fire sales. My Jaguars, for instance, where teams would just have all of their veterans leave in an offseason because they could not manage the cap. Jerry still talks about the cap like it's 20 years ago. It's like, man, there's only so much money to go around. There's nothing we can do. Meanwhile, the Saints have credit card debt till 2040, 2040, and the Eagles have they're going to have their $900 million over the cap 4 years from now, so they could be good now. Like there's ways to manage that stuff. So he still complains about it like it's 2001 or whatever. And then the other part is, for a guy that wants to create controversy in the soap opera, he doesn't do it with coaches, right? We talk about this all the time. We talk like Jason Garrett, Mike McCarthy, and now they go Brian Schottenheimer. He has not made a flashy, celebrity-driven, like there are rumors that he's going to go get Dion or whatever. He has not done it with the coaching staff, which is really interesting to me.
He doesn't spend in many of the areas that a effectively unrestricted spending owner spends. Now, he does in some places. I mean, look at the facility, look at the star, look at everything that kind of burnishes the myth of the Dallas Cowboys. Money is spent there. We get to have big shiny things.
That's
in
part
a
of
big
the
shiny
investment,
place,
though, too, right? We're going to have big events here.
But it's
People are
all
gonna pay us
designed
for it. It's business.
It's all designed around creating this image. Like, he creates the image of the Dallas Cowboys being America's team, being the biggest, shiniest thing in the sport. But then everywhere where you could actually use money in order to steal percentage points against other teams that do not spend money, he doesn't put the money there. Doesn't spend it on the coaching staff. Doesn't spend it on like a limitless, backroom staff that can help with various areas. And as you said, like, complains about the salary cap. Man, we can't go out there and, pay a big free agent because of the salary cap. It's like, yeah, but you're only squeezed against the salary cap because you jerked around the last 3 big contracts, and they're collectively getting paid $20 million a year more than they should be if you just signed the deal when you were supposed to sign the deal. Like, you created that problem.
I guess the point, I would almost rather him, mess around with the celebrity coaches or whatever rather than the players in the cap and the contract.
Of course. I mean, this is clearly not.
You can have your soap opera and still build the best team possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting. So the approach of all publicity is good publicity. I mean, he has interpreted that to, if I create negative controversy, that is a good thing overall. And while technically, from the bottom line, he is correct, you could also try and get the publicity with good publicity. Like, you could just go and hire a lunatic, like a massive name, or like you could go and spend $30 million and buy Dion out of his Colorado contract, install Dion as your head coach. And okay, maybe that wouldn't work either, but it would be theoretically positive publicity as opposed to negative publicity for just screwing players around. Like, it would amount to the same thing, but one might actually help you.
The last thing on this. Like, what if he did go to the absolute extreme here? Because he doesn't, right? What if they did? Imagine if they did draft Shouty Sanders. They had 5 rounds of opportunities to draft Shouty Sanders.
Sure.
Like, in the 4th round, just throw a flyer on Shouty. Like, who cares that you already have Dak Prescott?
Well, that's the other way. He doesn't really play to the.
They didn't draft Johnny Football.
To the publicity.
I think
which everyone always says you will. Like, every year, it's like Jerry's going to do this
I think
thing.
they locked Jerry out of the draft room
Sure.
when Johnny was on the clock.
But every year, because of the way he approaches this stuff, because of that quote that we read out of the start, that we heard at the start of this thing, everyone assumes he's going to do the thing that would create the most headlines in the draft, right? So this year it was Ashton Genty or Shouty Sanders. Like, this is what people say Jerry's going to do. And actually in the draft, it doesn't really happen ever. It's only this one specific area where he creates this drama.
It is notable because they have a good staff there. They have a good scouting staff. They have a good analytics team and group of people that they have there. And I think the one thing that they really give them, full control over is the draft. And they have drafted extremely well over the last 10 years or so. Where they've struggled is all of the edges from a team building perspective. And again, now it's like, we don't care. We don't seem to care. So here we are.
We have to wonder, like I said, 3 contracts can chew up that amount of money from your salary cap because of this approach. Like, that might invalidate, even if you were better at drafting than everybody else by 5 percentage points or whatever, that 5 percentage points is immediately gone by that, balanced out in terms of roster construction, salary cap management, et cetera, et cetera. Like, this is not an insignificant problem he is creating for the salary cap. It has to impact winning.
It's a problem for us because we assume every team is trying to maximize their ability to win a championship.
Yeah.
And he's essentially admitting
it's not
our goal.
Right.
All right, we're going to get to some best available players, some other team-building discussions, but quick break to tell you about our sponsor today. It's Brooklyn Bedding.
Yes, it is.
Brooklyn Bedding handcrafts every mattress in their Arizona factory. No middlemen, no gimmicks, just top-tier quality, honest pricing, and real American craftsmanship for a better night's sleep, of which you've been getting recently here,
Hell
Sam.
yeah. Fancy new mattress. It's been pretty spectacular, certainly relative to the old one. The old one was, it's pretty old. It was pre-USA, Sam. It came over in a shipping container with all of the rest of our stuff. This new one, though, significantly thicker, more padded, more comfortable. Awesome.
Love that you have a nice American-made mattress finally here, Sam. So you can that's good for your citizenship. Get the
hurt, right?
Get the American-made mattress here. So you guys can get one as well. Go to brooklynbetting.com. Use our promo code Check the Mic at checkout. You get 30% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. That's brooklynbetting.com. Promo codes Check the Mic. You get 30% off site-wide. Make sure you enter our show name after checkout so that they know that we sent you. brooklynbetting.com. Promo code is Check the Mic. Also want to tell you about our friends over at Circa. We're going to be going there just a week from today. Flying out to Vegas, hanging out there. We've got a little Radio Row media event there to help kick off their contest. It's contest season in Vegas at Circa, Circa Million and Circa Survivor. They're back with a massive $21 million in guaranteed prizes. Not prices. You don't have to pay $21 million. But enter both of those contests. We're heading out to Circa, one of our favorite places to go.
Yeah, it really is an awesome place, and that's without entering the contest and that kind of stuff. If you have invested in the Super Contest and you're there with that kind of money on the line, I can't even imagine the rush that place is, with that on the line. I mean, we were just watching the people with that on the line. It was pretty awesome to see. But that sports book is an incredible place to watch games. Stadium Swim looks like an insane place to watch games. Just can't say enough about Circa.
Can't wait to watch Farmageddon from Stadium Swim. So 2 contests out there at Circa. Circa Million, you pick 5 games against the spread each week. You get 1 point for each correct selection, half point for each push, $6 million in guaranteed total prizes. Prizes, I keep saying this, man. Can't speak today. The first place prize gets $1 million in the coveted blue jacket. And then you have Circa Survivor, which 1 pick per week, no point spread. You got to be the last one standing, and you get $15 million in guaranteed prizes with Circa Survivor. So both contests run from September 4th through January 4th. Sign up by September 6th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. Enter in Nevada, play from anywhere, $21 million guaranteed. Visit circasports.com for details. All right, man, we wanted to have a quick segment here, just talking about the best players available. We've got a few teams that have some remaining needs, either via injury or just not getting there from a team building perspective. There's always some big name or somewhat big name free agents available. Doesn't mean they're always great. Doesn't mean they're still good. The big names maybe from 3 or 4 years ago. But I want to start with receivers. A couple names out there. Amari Cooper, who played for a couple teams last year. Gabe Davis got released by the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's still out there. Odell Beckham Jr. is still out there, despite the fake rumors out there that he had retired.
He's pissed off if people keep texting him, happy retirement. He's not retired.
Did you tweet at him, happy retirement?
I thought about it. I thought about replying to that tweet.
I think a lot of people went after that. Nelson Aguilar's out there, Tyler Boyd, Jarvis Landry, Kadarius Toney as well. One team that does come to mind, or we'll mention a couple, but the San Francisco 49ers dealing with various injuries. Kyle Shanahan said Brandon Ayuk, who's coming off of his ACL, probably out at least the first 6 weeks. I saw our friend Dr. David Chow talking about, hey, that's optimistic. Might be a little bit later than that. So Ayuk's injured.
When did he do his ACL?
Middle of last year?
Yeah.
Late last year?
Feels like a long time, no?
I'll have to check it. We got Juwan Jennings still with his little contract dispute, and Jordan Watkins is out for a month with a high ankle sprain. Just a lot of depth issues here for the San Francisco 49ers. The other team, other teams specifically to mention, Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know if they're looking, and I don't know if they're pulling from this group for their wide receiver too, but DK Metcalf, clear number 1 in a battle for wide receiver 2 with veteran Robert Woods, Calvin Austin, Scott Miller's there. Scotty Miller?
Scott, yeah.
And then Roman Wilson, who I would think is the favorite. But
I mean, he's the guy they want to win that job.
They want him to win it, but he's a third-rounder, missed all of last year. Pretty high expectations. Aaron Rodgers already saying, yeah, Roman's got to get out of his own head. That's his way of saying, come on, man, get on the same page as me. You're talented.
Right.
So the Steelers are another interesting team, and they did host Gabe Davis on June 5th and did not sign him.
Yeah, and Rodgers also, he made the point of saying that he's spectacularly talented. Like,
yeah.
he hit both sides of that thing. But, yeah,
Rodgers doesn't have the best recent history of breaking in the youngsters either.
Not just recent history. I think throughout his career, it's always been kind of a problem that it takes a while for Rodgers to get immediate comfort with a guy. So much of his game was built off that telepathy with various receivers that we talked about with, Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. last year did not have that. Aaron Rodgers developed it consistently with a bunch of receivers, but it didn't happen right away. With each one of them, it took them a while or a transition period. And the problem is when you reach the end of his career, and it's like, okay, you get a year with the Jets effectively, 1 year lost to the Achilles, but you get a year, and now you get a year with Pittsburgh. Like you don't have time to do that anymore. You don't have the runway to build that over 2 years. You got to hit the ground running and get these guys on the same page immediately, and that might be a problem for him.
Are there any names that do intrigue you on that list? And really quick, just like receiver history-wise, I do feel like of all the positions, we've seen a lot of offensive linemen play into their late 30s, and I don't want to say it's a less athletic position, but you don't know when a guy loses a step as cleanly on offensive line as you do at receiver. We see edge rushers and pass rushers generally, or defensive tackles, still able to contribute into their mid to late 30s. Calais Campbell, right? We saw Dwight Freeney still rushing the passer late in his career. Ndamukong Suh, right? We see all these players still contribute, even if they're not what they used to be. But at receiver, it is really tough, right? Larry Fitzgerald was a good name, like a guy that was still good and could be a high volume possession receiver, but it wasn't the same at the end of his career. It's very difficult for receivers to just hang on and be big time contributors. Is there anybody available that does make sense to you?
Gabe Davis, I think, is a relatively one-dimensional receiver, but I think he's still a good receiver if you're missing that particular skill set, that vertical skill set. I think Amari Cooper can still play. Now, maybe he's lost something from his best play, but I think if you have a weak receiving core, I think Amari Cooper could absolutely improve it and become a part of your group. Mike Renner had a tweet that sort of highlights the relative recent run of receivers falling off fast when they hit that age. He had a tweet that was basically Terry McLaurin. It was McLaurin related, but he turns 30 in September. And then he says the age of the last 1,000-yard season for all recent high-end wide receivers. For Nuke Hopkins, it was 31. For Julio Jones, it was 30. For Antonio Brown, it was 30. For A.J. Green, it was 29. For Amari Cooper, it's been 29. Keenan Allen, 31. Cooper Kupp, 28. Devontae Adams, 32. Mike Evans, 32. So it's not been a great run for receivers still being, super productive once they hit that kind of 30 threshold, and that's what a lot of these contracts are battling against. Or, you're hoping that somebody bucks the trend.
It's a rough group. Where's Devontae Adams in there?
32.
Was he over 1,000 last year? That's last year, I think.
So.
Last year for him and Mike Evans.
And Evans, they had to feed him the ball right at the end to get him over that number to keep the streak alive.
Jerry Rice, Mike Evans.
But
think about
Jerry Rice. Guys used to be. Forget Jerry Rice because the guy's a freak. But T.O. was 37 or something and still good. Like the league got sick of T.O. before T.O. stopped being productive.
But we said Randy Moss, as soon as the Patriots traded him in 2010, just starts bouncing around the league and
was basically done.
Looks like a shell of himself. Julio Jones was the same thing, right? Goes to Tennessee. He was in Tampa Bay. Where else did he stop on his way out? Did he go to Philly
I don't even remember.
For a little bit? This is what I mean. There's nondescript finishes to their career where they just were unable to do anything.
But T.O. had 1,000 yards at 35, and at 37 was only 20 yards shy of it.
There's a few freaks out there. I think OBJ hasn't looked the same the last couple of years. Was in Miami last year, and again, once injuries start creeping in, and or you just start losing a step. Amari Cooper is the one I did think he might make an impact for Buffalo last year. And there was a few games here and there I thought there'd be more, just like I thought there'd be a little bit more from DeAndre Hopkins down the stretch last year with the Kansas City Chiefs. And you just see it in spurts. So I think if you're describing what can these guys bring to the table, most of the time it's inconsistency. There's spurts of good play. There's a little bit of depth. I don't know if any of these guys are, saving the 49ers early season or anything. Plus, they've got, some youth to rely upon. Davis is he's different here, right? He's younger than all these other players.
Yeah.
You're not fearful of him losing a step, but I'm with you. If you need a straight-up vertical threat, Gabe Davis can do that. The problem is he went to Jacksonville and got paid to be a true number 2 receiver, which I don't think he ever was.
No, and that I wonder, some of these are kind of guys right on the scrap heap, and some of these they have a contract, number that nobody's willing to meet yet. So I wonder if that's the issue with Gabe Davis is less, there's no interest in him and more not at that number.
So yeah, I think so. There are some receivers available. None of them are terribly exciting for me. See what ends up happening with the Niners if they do have to bring someone in to stitch it together. I don't know if the Steelers, I don't know, maybe Amari Cooper would be interesting as a pretty good route runner opposite DK Metcalf with Aaron Rodgers if none of those other guys really step up there. I don't know if there's enough there from those players. The Chiefs with the Rashee Rice injury, potential suspension coming up, and Marquise Brown being banged up, they might need some depth.
Yeah, maybe. I think there's a receiving core there for Kansas City. It's just going to be like last year where they have to figure out what it looks like as they go.
Yeah, and Rashee Rice, if he gets suspended 6 games or whatever it is, that we don't know exactly what's going to happen there. He'll still be coming back. I don't think he's gone for the season. So, I don't know if there's anyone else that really needs any of those other receivers, to be honest. The one other, and this is, I'm going to speak about this position differently because I think edge rusher, there are some players who can contribute. And this is, again, I don't know if it's the nature of the position, but Za'Darius Smith is still out there. Jadeveon Clowney is out there. Shaquille Barrett is still out there. Matthew Judon. So you do have players who have declined a little bit at points in their career, but Za'Darius Smith and Jadeveon Clowney in particular, I think could still play.
Yeah.
Clowney, fascinating because he's just, I don't know if he's worn out his welcome every year or two where he's gone, but certainly you don't have teams locking him up long term. But specifically, I keep coming back to the Detroit Lions and their defensive line and having more juice off the edge next to Aiden Hutchinson. They're hoping for Marcus Davenport. They've got some younger players. They've got a slew of defensive tackles on the interior, but Za'Darius Smith was a nice pickup for them after the Aiden Hutchinson injury last year, and we kept saying, man, if they had both of those guys, especially the way Smith moves around, he still lines up over guards and he can win one-on-one as a pass rusher, and I think that's extremely valuable, and I think the Lions would be a great fit as a reunion.
Yeah, and they've said they're kind of keeping tabs on him, and there's constant contact there. So I'm a little bit surprised that hasn't happened already, but I think definitely there's no way he's sort of on the open market during the regular season. I would imagine Detroit picks him up if somebody doesn't get him first. Yeah, I think Za'Darius Smith is the best player on that list and the guy that would make an instant impact. There's a couple others, though, that are interesting. Clowney is still a solid player and can't possibly still be looking for the long-term contract at this stage. You know what you're getting at this stage. You're not even entertaining him while he tries to get paid somewhere else. He's just takes the deal now. Carl Lawson, I think, is kind of interesting. He's still only 30 years old, and it was only flashes last year, but for the first time since his injury, I think showed some significant flashes of he can still have some production off the edge.
Since his injury, he's had 5 significant injuries since college.
The major injury that he got almost as soon as he got paid for the Jets. So Carl Lawson, I think, is an interesting name there. And then, Matthew Judon was, I think, overrated for a large period of his career, is coming off the worst season of his career after he got traded to Atlanta. But I still think is, an interesting player that could play quite a lot for a team and maybe, be a very useful player in the right defense.
One of the teams that comes to mind, I mentioned it on their team preview, is the Washington Commanders. I may have some information that they might not go this route. They did bring in Von Miller already, but I feel like they could use some help off the edge. The Cincinnati Bengals, depending on, Joseph Asai's banged up right now, but they have a lot of bodies, but uncertainty around Trey Hendrickson, Asai's injury. Shamar Stewart is in camp at least as a rookie, and Miles Murphy they're hoping will be there. So on paper, the depth chart is 4 deep, but there's question marks with 2 of them. Are they a spot for a Clowney or one of these players to come in and fill a gap potentially?
It doesn't feel like they're going to dip into the veteran market, given
Probably
their
not.
reluctance to spend.
Probably not. I bring Clowney up a lot because, again, I think he could still play. When we're talking about, I'd like to see teams 4 deep at edge rusher. Certainly 3 deep, right? You have 2 starters, and your third guy is either good rotational guy or just a designated pass rusher. If Clowney is your 3, that's really good because I think he's at least a low to mid number 2 type of edge rusher. Still pretty good against the run, rushes the passer well enough. He's never been an elite pass rusher, but as a number 2 edge rusher, certainly as a number 3, I think he's good. So I think he adds some depth to playoff caliber teams here if they go that route.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's such a weird career for him. Like, his career highlight might still be that decleating the Michigan guy in college, despite becoming, the number one overall pick and a guy with incredible potential and production. And he was a good NFL player, but it just seemed like the second half of his career was like bouncing around everywhere trying to get a big payday that never came.
Yeah, and again, reminded me a little bit of Jason Pierre-Paul throughout his career, where he was a very good run defender and a good, not great pass rusher, like a fine pass rusher. Clowney's been that guy. His sack totals have fluctuated through the years, but his advanced metrics have been relatively consistent, right? Yeah. He wins at a reasonable rate, doesn't win cleanly a ton. He can finish plays, and he's just a good, solid player. But he's still out there. I think Clowney and Zadarius Smith are the biggest names I'm keeping an eye on, because I think contenders potentially get nice additions there, especially Zadarius Smith and the Lions.
I mean, yeah, if he just reconnects with the Lions, you feel a lot better about the Lions' edge rusher position.
Any other teams that stand out or players from that group? I'm with you on Judon too, by the way. It's same thing. Like, I think his sack totals were kind of inflated in New England 1 or 2 years. Was never a great one-on-one rusher, but you bump all these guys down the depth chart as a third edge rusher, as a rotational player, I think they still have value.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Other position I wanted to talk about, which is we're not going to have great solutions for, I don't think. Los Angeles Chargers having the left tackle issue with Rashawn Slater. If Joe Alt is going to move from right tackle to left tackle, and they're going to, backfill from within at right tackle, are there any tackles available? Should they keep Alt on the right side? It's not a position where you just pick up starting caliber tackles off the scrap heap.
No.
So there's not many options here.
I mean, preseason should be telling you everything you need to know about, the state of offensive line in the NFL. Once you get to second-team offensive lines in preseason, it tends to get rough pretty fast. And, okay, it's not quite one-to-one because a lot of these guys that are available on the street, as we said, it's like a contract thing. It's I don't want to be in training camp, preseason kind of thing. It's not necessarily these are worse than the second or third string that are out there right now, but they're certainly not as good as the first string guys. So, yeah, it gets pretty problematic pretty quickly if you're now in need of a starting tackle.
So Trey Pipkins, likely the starting right tackle opposite Joe Alt, who moves to left tackle. We talk a lot on this show about the move from left to right tackle, and it's not what it used to be where people think you can't do that. I don't love having to switch players year to year,
right?
But it's all Joe Alt's within a year of playing left tackle in college. But, you lose the offseason of that preparation. I can't imagine he was doing the problem with it is it's just such a repetitive get into your pass set, all of the footwork, and just doing it over and over and over and over again. And I can't imagine Alt was practicing that a whole lot during the offseason. Maybe he was. So there might be a little bit of a transition there, but he's got that experience, whereas Pipkins has been a right tackle before. So
yeah, and it's totally different from if the Chargers had just decided this offseason, you know what, we're going to put Joe Alt to left tackle this year now, you'd be like, well, why? Like, it's one thing voluntarily getting a guy to switch for no particularly clear reason. It's another thing to be like, okay, our starting left tackle just went down. What is the best solution? And I think the best solution for them is to ask Joe Alt, a guy who played left tackle a year ago, to flip back to that side, put in Pipkins at right tackle, and then, deal with the associated risk there and flipping Alt back the next year. I think that is their best option rather than let's keep Alt at right tackle where he was really good and let's go try and find a left tackle from nowhere.
I mean, this has long-term implications too, because presumably Slater's coming back next year to play left tackle and Alt's back to
That's
the
what
right
I'm saying.
side.
So I think
that
it's
means
not
that's
good.
4 switches in 4 years for Alt.
It's definitely not what you would want to be doing, but I do think it is the best option they have available to them, and sometimes you just have to do something like that. Some
of the tackle names that are available: Jedrick Wills, who we've talked about on the show here. I don't know if he's going to play at all this year. George Fant, Isaiah Wynn, Jack Driscoll, who's played tackle and guard, LaRaven Clark, Dante Smith, and Hakeem Adeniji. A couple failed mid-round picks for the Bengals, backups for the Bengals. It's not a great group.
It's not. It's very
available offensive tackles. Let's talk secondary. So there are some names available here and some useful players. Stephon Gilmore Asante Samuel Jr., Rasul Douglas, Kendall Fuller, Marcus Williams still out there, a safety, Justin Simmons. Every team that needs a safety is at least thinking about, do we bring in Justin Simmons? And there's a couple teams in need at safety, starting with the Bengals. They have Geno Stone out with an injury. I think at the beginning of his season is very much in question. They have a couple really young players battling for the starting safety spot opposite Jordan Battle. The Raiders have, I would say, just general secondary questions and holes, as do the Dolphins, right? The Dolphins had Kendall Fuller leaving, one of the available players, Jordan Poyer, Javon Holland left for a big contract to the New York Giants, and they just traded Jalen Ramsey. So the Dolphins, and their corners keep getting hurt left and right. They seem like a good fit for a guy like Rasul Douglas, who I think, he's 30 years old, I think can still play a little bit. Stephon Gilmore has played this role for the Cowboys, the Vikings over the last couple of years, where he steps in for a year or two and plays pretty well. So there's a couple cornerback options available, and then especially at safety, Justin Simmons, I think, also can still play.
No, agreed. I think there's some players in the secondary. Just to put a bow on the tackle thing, as producer Ben points out, Jedrick Wills, we mentioned this before, is probably sitting out the entire season at left tackle. He would be the one name that you would be like, okay, he hasn't justified his draft position, but we can maybe roll with him this year and get by. But it sounds like he's trying to get healthy this year, take the year off, come back next year, and then be the guy. So the one option you would feel relatively good about is probably not actually an option for this year. But the secondary, I think you've got a bunch of players who you would be okay starting and that are a little bit surprising are still out there. The biggest one of those, I think, the other ones make more sense from a contract point of view, but I'm very surprised that Asante Samuel Jr. is still available. Again, hasn't necessarily played up to his billing, but I'm surprised he hasn't signed somewhere already.
I mean, he's heading into year 5. He just second-round pick who played 4 years at a reasonable level. Usually they have opportunities to play.
Yeah.
They're going to be back. I mean, it's Asante Samuel and Gabe Davis are the two youngest players that we're discussing here who, most often usually get shots to play. Dolphins are really depleted in their secondary.
Yeah.
I think they need to pick up somebody.
They do. And Asante Samuel would make a lot of sense if it wasn't for the fact that Asante Samuel Sr., I think, was trashing the team about a month ago. Now, you might say, who cares?
Asante Sr. has been he trashes Belichick left and right.
Trashed a lot of people.
He thinks Belichick is awful.
Yeah.
As a coach. He thinks he's a terrible coach.
Uh-huh.
Asante also tried to, what did he state the case? That he's better than Dion?
Certainly Revis, I think he's always said he was
better.
Oh,
Revis, was it?
Yeah. I don't know if it was Dion as well. But I think he certainly
I'm sure he did not stop at Revis and would be fine saying that he's better than Dion. I think he was trying to compare stats.
Yeah. To be fair, you could understand why a corner of Asante Sr.'s style would not get on particularly well with Belichick. Like, Asante was the classic, I want to freelance, go get the ball.
Yeah, I want all the interceptions.
Belichick's I want you doing what you're told to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could understand why those two would butt heads.
He did have a 10 interception season.
I know. He did. I mean, look, as much as we kind of mock a little bit his sort of craziness now and saying he's better than Revis and blah, 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 he was a very, very good cornerback. It's not, it's crazy, but it's not crazy,
Dolphins room, by the way. Jack Jones, Storm Duck. Storm's good for Storm. Kendall Sheffield, Ethan Bonner, Cam Smith, former second-round pick, who hasn't played a lot of football.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wide open. They do have Minka Fitzpatrick, Afatu Melifonwu at safety, Ashton Davis rotating through there. So safety's not bad, but if they picked up 2 corners, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world,
sure.
Right? If they're trying to compete for this year.
Yeah, no, it's a terrible looking group on paper. It was even worse before they signed Jack Jones. But yeah, absolutely. Any of these names would make sense for them.
Jones feels like the most dependable player, and he's not dependable.
Right.
So.
And, we had concerns about Jack Jones plus Las Vegas as a concept. Jack Jones plus Miami is not much better.
I mentioned the Raiders before, but yeah, Eric Stokes. You've got Darian Porter. Where did he end up getting drafted? I was about to say second round. See, that's another one. I was about to say second rounder because we mocked him in the second round a million times.
Yeah.
It's going to always messes with my brain. DeCamerion Richardson, Sam Webb, just a whole bunch of names, but they could use could absolutely use some help. I think Rasul Douglas has played pretty well overall the last couple of years. If you add him up, Stephon Gilmore's played pretty well overall the last couple of years. So yeah, I think there's still some corners who could play. It's closer to receiver where there's sometimes there's a cliff at this position, but it's not as cliffy as receiver, as I'd say.
And Gilmore's a guy who's been bucking against the cliff for the last couple of years.
He has.
I mean, he signed for people late in the day and has been a solid starter.
One other team I wanted to mention, Indianapolis Colts lost their third rounder, Justin Wally, out for the season from Minnesota. They did invest there this offseason with Travarius Ward. They do have Jalen Jones there, so they do have a starting group and Kenny Moore, but if they're looking for depth or some sort of insurance policy, I think they're okay with that top two, but just another team to throw out there.
Well, it's weird because Wally looked like he might have been on his way to winning that starting job, and then he goes down. So if you'd said this, a couple of months ago, you'd be like, it's not a huge loss. And then now you're like, well, actually, that might have taken a starter out of the team.
Jalen Jones, Samuel Womack, they've at least played reasonably well. A couple guys, like Jones, who they developed, Womack, who they got, and filled in and did a pretty good job. Juju Brents, remember, as an athletic freak. That might be the name, by the way, just to keep an eye on with the way Zion McCollum had his breakout season. Remember Juju Brents at 6'3" with a really freaky workout in that Zion McCollum, Tariq Woolen type of mold. We'll see if he ends up becoming the breakout player. We'll report right from camp when we get out there. Okay. Packers and Colts. We'll let you know.
The freaky athlete.
We'll keep an eye on those cornerbacks. So the next couple weeks, I think some of these players will sign and get opportunities. And we'll also have some cuts, man. You've got guys like Kyle Duggar, who's, making a lot of money for the Patriots at safety, now running with the second team, will be available for teams that need a box safety. We're going to see some veterans on the streets to be picked up, the waiver wire. So just keep an eye on that in the coming weeks as cut down day.
That's a big thing. These are the guys that are available right now. There's going to be a ton of guys. I mean, rosters are effectively shedding, almost half of their team once we get to cut day. Some of those guys are going to be definite upgrades for certain teams.
And it's not staggered anymore, right? It's just like one big,
right,
here we go. Roster time, roster cut downs. So that's it for us today. Some available players. Let us know. Who do you want your team to sign? As far as best available free agents, still some names out there and guys that could be useful. So we're heading to camp today. Colts, Packers today. Bills, Bears tomorrow. Next week is another Monday, Thursday show. We're trying to nail down a very special guest for the Thursday show. Very special guest. The following week, I'll get back to that in a second. The following week, we're going to 3 shows per week. And I believe we've nailed down having Mike Renner join us to talk a little NFL draft. We'll do our overall draft preview, and we're getting closer and closer to the season.
Nice. He's coming in. We're getting him in the studio.
The goal is to have him sit
right there,
right here in the middle.
Okay.
Move the helmet. Sit right here.
This whole
Renner's in town here, and we can actually have him right here in Check the Mic studio.
Yeah, and this whole studio was designed theoretically with the idea of we could have a third person right in the space.
We have it. We got to move some wires for him.
A lot of wires.
We got to set some stuff up for him.
That's where it went off the rails a little bit. Like theoretically, there's a nice seating space there, but it's currently occupied by mic stands, this audio equipment, a million cables beneath us. Like it. The theory got polluted a little bit as we met practice.
So what we're doing next week, I mentioned a potential very special guest. We're talking to his people. We want to do a college football preview for next week.
Okay.
Preview the college football season right before you and I get to Vegas to watch Farmageddon, which will be live from Dublin. And you're not the biggest college football fan in the world, but we want to educate you. We got to get you ready for the season.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be you and I are going to be watching games at Circa. So we're trying to bring a college football guru in to help prepare you for the season. So let us know. I don't know how much our fans like to cross over into college football. I assume there's a big chunk how interested you are in a college football preview that we're hoping to do by next Thursday.
Nice. When are we getting Taylor Swift on the show? She's doing podcasts now.
I mean, we're all getting big names. We have our own big name. Good for New Heights that they got Taylor Swift. Good for her.
You think that an in?
I heard they
connection.
I think they do.
Yeah.
I think they do.
Yeah.
I don't know if that vaulted them up the boards, the rankings.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
So yeah, it's big name podcast guest season. So we're going to do the same thing. If New Heights can get Taylor Swift, we can get a big name multiple big names on here the next couple weeks.
Like Mike
One
Renner.
of them's Mike Renner.
Yeah.
One's a big mystery guest.
Nice.
That we're working on for next week. What else we got? Preseason football. I was going to say tonight, but there's no Thursday games.
Really?
This week.
Okay.
Wild NFL preseason schedule, like all up on Saturday again.
I'd love
Why
to
do
know
they-
how they.
They used to have this nicely dispersed Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Now it's just this massive Saturday window, which means Saturday.
A lot of Celine Dion.
We're going to have 8. You're going to have like 8 screens going. A lot of Celine. I wonder if they've updated the commercial this week.
No, that's going to run all year.
Oh, I know.
It's like last year, I forget what the commercial was, but it was like you couldn't get away from it. This year, it's going to be, there's the next 6 months of Celine Dion is what you're going to be hearing.
It will not be as often as what you
No,
hear on
I mean,
NFL
this is-
Plus when it's 3 times
Right.
per commercial.
Preseason is definitely peak, but you are going to be hearing 6 months of that Celine Dion song to varying degrees.
It's one of the great things about the NFL season, the new ads that
You
are
know the
going to
way
keep running.
You know the way you can like mute words on Twitter so that you never see them?
Mute the commercial.
We need to get to the point where AI is able to have your brain mute sounds, right? So you just need to go in and program never hear Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On Again. Never, just don't take it in.
Unless I'm watching Titanic.
If it exists, no, not even then. If it exists anywhere in the background ambience of the world, tune it out so that the brain never registers it. That's what I want from Elon and whatever his brain place is.
Probably a month away from that. So.
Right. I need that. I will happily sign up for the thing in my head if it takes away Celine Dion.
All right, man. So big week next week. We'll be back on Monday reviewing all of the preseason action, big college football preview next Thursday, and then the following week 3 shows per week, including a big draft preview on Wednesday. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Enjoy the preseason football this weekend. We'll see you again on Monday with more Check the Mic.